Good morning and welcome to the North Carolina Virtual Family History Fair. We are live streaming from the Nature Research Center at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I am Rebecca Hyman, and I am the Educational and Outreach Librarian at the North Carolina Government and Heritage Library, which is part of the State Library of North Carolina in Raleigh, North Carolina. So here's our schedule today. As you can see, we are going to start off right now with our presentation, Genealogical Research at the North Carolina Government and Heritage Library and the State Archives of North Carolina. But before we begin this presentation, just have a few things, some thank yous and a few announcements before we begin. And thank you for joining in and viewing with us today. So just to let you know again with our schedule, we will not be continually streaming. After this presentation is over, we will switch out our presenters and there'll be a brief pause and then we'll pick up the live streaming again at 11 o'clock with the next presentation. So the State Archives and State Library, as well as the Museum of Natural Sciences, is all part of the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, which is a state agency with a vision to be the leader in using the state's natural and cultural resources to build the social, cultural, and educational and economic future of North Carolina. It is led by Secretary Susan Klutz. The DNCR includes 27 historic sites, 7 history museums, 2 art museums, 2 science museums, 3 aquariums, and Jeanette's Pier, 39 state parks and recreation areas, and the North Carolina Zoo, and the nation's first state-supported symphony orchestra, State Library and the State Archives, the North Carolina Arts Council, State Preservation Office, and the Office of State Archaeology, along with the Division of Land and Water Stewardship. So just a reminder, we do have a survey for you to fill out. If you are going to attend all of our sessions or just one, we would love your feedback. The link is on the event page, and there's the link on the screen as well. And then I just have a lot of thank yous for today, especially the State Archives and all the staff at State Archives and the Government and Heritage Library, and of course today's speakers, and also the Natural Sciences staff here in the studio today, the DNCR staff, and all the North Carolina libraries that are participating today. So today's event is presented by State Archives and the Government and Heritage Library and is sponsored by the Friends of the Archives. So please go to the link and join or learn more about them. The Friends of the Archives is a 501c3 nonprofit organization formed in 1977 whose mission is to support, promote, and strengthen collections and services and programs of the State Archives of North Carolina. So we have 15 libraries across the state of North Carolina that are participating today with viewing parties. These are all these libraries have local history and genealogy collections. And I just want to note that there are a few libraries that may not be participating as they were affected by Hurricane Matthew, and our thoughts go out to them, and we're sorry about everyone who has been dealing with the devastation of the storm across the state in the southeast. So here are the libraries that are participating, and we'll be talking more about them later in our last session of the day, our panel discussion. And then I also want to talk about 2 of our big supporters of the library and the archives. The North Carolina Genealogical Society is a big supporter of our repositories, and I encourage you to check out their site and attend their fall workshop and annual meeting, which is on October 29th in Raleigh, North Carolina. And then our other big event that's happening related to genealogy is the National Genealogical Society Family History Conference, which is in May 2017, and it's going to be here in Raleigh. So we encourage you to go to that. It's going to be several days of awesome genealogy topics, and of course the library and the archives will be open for researchers. So be sure to check that out as well. And as we are live streaming today, join in on the conversation. We have a live chat going, and we have staff members, Ashley and Michelle, who are monitoring the chat on livestream.com. And also you can also do our follow along on our Twitter chat, and a hashtag for that is virtual FHF. So do the live chat or hashtag virtual FHF on Twitter. So now, without further ado, we will begin our presentation on genealogical research at the North Carolina Government and Heritage Library and the State Archives of North Carolina with me, Rebecca Hyman, Educational Programming and Outreach Librarian, as well as Debbie Blake, Archivist at State Archives of North Carolina. So I'll talk first, and then Debbie will talk when I'm done. So the North Carolina Government and Heritage Library, which is part of the State Library of North Carolina, is located in Raleigh, North Carolina, which now I've said several times. So at the library, we focus on historical and current North Carolina information, state government information, Southern history, culture, genealogy, and we also, we would love for people to come in, but we can also help you remotely as well, in person and remotely. So please visit us in Raleigh. Today, I'm going to discuss the library's collections and services that can help you with your genealogical research. So we have print and digital collections that are related to genealogical research. Our noon presentation today is going to talk more about online tools, including our digital collections. So a good place to start, if you want to learn more about the library or you want to start doing research, is our website. This is where you can find links to information, our services, collections, and contact information as well. I just wanted to point out that within our website, you can access our genealogy research page, and you can find this under resources, which is circled, and it contains more information about the genealogy collection, instructional handouts, and more. Throughout our webpage, you can also access our online library catalog. This shows you the collections in the library and includes our print and digital materials. So this is our online catalog, which you can access anywhere, and again, it will help you locate the materials, print and digital materials in the library's collection. Our materials are, some are available for checkout through interlibrary loan, including our North Carolina newspaper microfilm, which I'll talk about soon. Our genealogy material does not circulate, but we have a lot of other things like North Carolina history and our state publications that do circulate through interlibrary loan. So our genealogy collections include family histories, census records, abstracts. Abstracts are listings or an index that someone has compiled various records, like county records, such as birth or death or land records for a particular county, and it's abstracted. We also have military rosters, research databases for free, such as Ancestry.com. We have the library version, or Fold 3 if you're doing military records. So I encourage you to come here to use our databases for free. And many libraries, public libraries as well, have Ancestry.com for free. We also have our family vertical files that have a very rich collection, rich information. Basically what that is that we have, over the year, we have amassed information on various families, cemeteries, anything you could think of North Carolina, we should have it. We also have genealogical journals, including from the North Carolina Genealogical Society. And there's a lot of great information in those journals. If you're looking for information about families, locations, things like that, there's a lot of great information in that, as well as our family newsletters. And one thing I do want to talk about are our newspapers, especially when doing genealogical research. This is a great resource. So the library has North Carolina newspapers dating back to 1751 on microfilm, and you can borrow those through your local library through interlibrary loan. We also have some papers that are available online through our digital collections, which will be talked about later, newspapers.com. And we have a subscription to that through UNC libraries, and it's digitized newspapers from their collection. And we have several other online resources for newspapers as well. And to find newspapers, you can use our tool, the North Carolina Newspaper Locator, where you can search our holdings by date and county or town. You can also search for our newspaper holdings through our catalog. And not all newspapers are indexed, but we have indexed the News and Observer, which is Raleigh, North Carolina paper. We have indexed that for various years, and that's online as well. So, segue into microfilm. We have a lot of materials, as you can see on the screen, in our microfilm collection. And almost all these things do circulate through interlibrary loan to North Carolina residents. The newspapers, as I mentioned earlier, are available through interlibrary loan across the United States as well. So for the microfilm that you see, if you're not able to make it to Raleigh or to the library or the archives, especially if you're doing military research, we have Revolutionary War pension and bounty land warrant application files, and we have service records for War of 1812, Civil War, and the Revolutionary War. And if you're doing Native American research with the Cherokee tribe, we also have the records of the Eastern Cherokee, and these are available through interlibrary loan for North Carolina residents. So I've talked about a few of I've given you an overview of what we have in our collection regarding genealogical research. If you need a refresher or you need to know how to start, we actually have an online course, which is an introduction to genealogy and family history research. As you can see the link there, it's also available through our website. It's called Roots MOOC. And MOOC stands for Massive Open Online Course, and this is a class that we did. We collaborated with Wake Forest University. We've broken it up into 4 modules, and so it covers all the basics on how to do genealogical research. It includes short YouTube instructional videos and tutorials as well with expert videos. And it just covers, as you can see with the 4 modules, you can do it on your own at your own time. And it's a good refresher or a good starting place if you're interested in doing genealogical research. So if you're able to visit us here in Raleigh, we are located in the same building as the State Archives. And you can always give us a call. Our hours are right there, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to 2. And you can always send us an email as well. And I just want to mention, we do have our research assistants. We, of course, can help you in person or also email or phone. And we have a new service. We have a chat reference service that's available on our website that you just click the chat box and we can help you. And if we're not available, you can send us an email. It will go directly to us. And then if you are in Raleigh or you're going to make the trip to Raleigh, we have a new service. where you can book 30-minute one-on-one consultations with a reference librarian, of course for genealogy, as well as other topics related to North Carolina, such as history, government research, and statistics and demographics. So if you can make the trip or you're in the area, please book an appointment, and a librarian can help you. So it gave a lot of information, and to stay connected with us, if you want to know what's happening with the library, with our different social media outlets and our blog, we post regular genealogy related news and information events all the time on our social media. And this is just all the photos that I used today. So thank you. We're going to save questions from the audience, if there are any, until at the end of Debbie's presentation. So I'm going to turn it over to Debbie Blake. She's an archivist at the State Archives of North Carolina. And thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. As Rebecca said, the State Archives is located in the same building as the State Library, and we're on the west end of the building on the second floor. And the mandated purpose of the State Archives is to collect, preserve, and make available to the public the historically valuable records of the state. And these records take the form of government documents executed on government time by government employees. The primary difference between the State Library and the State Archives is that the Archives has the surviving original historically valuable records created by state government since its foundation in 1663. Unlike the State Library, we are not set up for genealogists. But that said, we do happen to be one of the best places in the world to come and do genealogical research. The reason for that is the myriad of ways in which our ancestors interacted with the government and the documents that were created by that interaction. Before coming to the archives, it's important to consider the ways in which an ancestor may have interacted with the government in order to follow his or her footsteps. The reason that I said we're not set up for genealogists is that when the records come to us, they remain in the order in which they were maintained by the creating state agencies. That means that they're not arranged by family name, but by the type of records. In other words, the county court records would all remain together, and the land records would all remain together, and so on. We have finding aids for all of our collections, however, and the researcher should study those to make sure that to determine whether or not those records are going to have any particular use for your particular research. And you can decide what you want to look at if it's pertinent to your research. Finding aids for collections can take several different formats, but what they share is that the information that enables the researcher to determine whether or not this collection is going to be helpful to them is included in the finding aid. The finding aid will describe the records, sometimes down to the folder or box level, and will give the call number that we need in order to pull the records for you. Genealogical research involves finding and obtaining copies of records that provide proof of one of the central facts of an ancestor's life: the birth, date, and death, the birth, date, and place, the date and place of the marriage and the name of the spouse, as well as the date and place of death. At the minimum, these are the facts that you need to prove that this particular person is your ancestor. Proof documents are sometimes as cut and dried as this death certificate that you see, but the farther back you get in time, the harder it will be to find documents like this that actually say who the father is. There comes a time when a person has to use many documents that, when they are put together, prove the lineage. The archives is the place that researchers come to find and get copies of these documents. These are the types of records that we have for each county in North Carolina, including many of the defunct counties or counties that no longer exist. The researcher's job is to think about whether or not their ancestors might have had some reason to create any of these records and to find and study them for the information that they contain. In thinking about county records in the County Records series, which is likely to be where the researcher is going to find the greatest number of records related to created for their ancestor, it's imperative that a researcher determine from which county their ancestor lived. Sometimes the researcher can discover the correct county by simply looking at one of the statewide indices. There are at least three: the census, records, wills, and then also marriage bonds. If they're not found there, it will be necessary to consult other types of indexes, such as county abstracts that Rebecca mentioned having in the library. Ancestry.com sometimes can help you, as well as Family Search. It can help you zoom into the county in which you're looking. Once you find your ancestor's county, keep in mind that the counties have ancestors, have descendants as well. So there may come a time when a researcher might have to start looking at a parent county's records, even though the ancestor may be living in exactly the same place and have never moved, but the county boundaries have changed around them. All states have to deal with records loss, especially to courthouse fires. And North Carolina, unfortunately, has been particularly blessed in this regard. The counties shown here in red have all sustained fires, some like Harnett more than once. As you can see, 37 counties have had courthouse fires in North Carolina. The 33 counties shown here in yellow are the counties that have had records loss due to some other reason besides fire. So that's 70 counties out of 100 that have had some records loss. This is not unusual. Unfortunately, sadly, it is the norm for most states. In counties with records loss, it's necessary for the researcher to use the records that remain to their fullest potential, and that often calls for a lot of thought and planning and creativity. Excuse me. While most people have more dealings with the county than any other government agency, there are some important state agencies which historically an ancestor might have dealt. In the case of courthouse fires, sometimes state agency records such as these are a godsend, since they were not in the courthouse and were never in the courthouse and therefore did not burn. These four are the ones that ancestors most likely dealt with: the Secretary of State, the Treasurer or Comptroller, the Adjutant General, or the Supreme Court. The first two are the largest of the two state agencies and are certainly the most comprehensive. For example, very early wills were filed with the Secretary of State's office. So very early wills you don't find at the county level, you find them at the state in the Secretary of State records. Land grants also went through that particular state agency. These two, Secretary of State and Treasurer and Comptroller, are the two most common agencies with which your ancestor probably dealt. The Treasurer and Comptroller records are mostly financial records, so this is where you come if you are trying to follow the money. Payment to citizens for various things often went through this particular office. Among the most useful records in that would be the Revolutionary War pay vouchers and Army accounts. If your ancestor fought for the Confederacy in the Civil War, most of the records created by the state went through the Adjutant General's office. And then court cases that are appealed to higher courts often appear in the North Carolina Supreme Court records. And there are surprisingly large numbers of regular individuals and citizens that show up in these records. It is in the realm of state agencies that researchers should give the most careful thought of if and how an ancestor might have interacted with the state. You can be sure that your ancestor very likely dealt with county government. All of us do, and our ancestors did too. We generally have less dealings with the state. Therefore, one really has to think about the circumstances in which an ancestor would have dealt with these higher level entities. Did he ask for a land grant? Was he part of contested will or other lawsuit? Was he paid for military service? All of those are questions that you might ask to determine whether or not your ancestor dealt with the state agency. We have other collections of interest as well. We have some non-textual records, which include maps and photographs. We have over 2,000 maps at the State Archives and over 2 million photographic negatives. We also have a military collection in which includes information from every war in which North Carolina or North Carolinians have fought. We have Bible records, and you'll hear a lot more about those when Ashley and Michelle talk this afternoon. But we are adding to the Bible record collection all the time. We have some federal microfilm, and of greatest interest of those probably are the Civil War service records that we have. And then we have private manuscript collections as well, and we have over 2,000 of those. The State Archives has a lot of records on microfilm as well. In fact, the microfilm room contains about 55,000 reels of microfilm, including the federal film that I just mentioned. Of more local interest are the copies of all the county's deed books. The originals of the deed books always stay in the county, but we do have copies of all of the deed books for all of the counties. We also have some municipal records as well as newspapers and church records on microfilm. There's also a series of miscellaneous reels that include some cemetery records, some Native American rolls, and British records. There's a card catalog that will lead you to the type of records that have been microfilmed and are available for your research. Now, you'll remember that Rebecca told you that their records are available through interlibrary loan. Ours, on the other hand, are not. So you do end up having to come to the State Archives in order to see those. There are certain reference books that will make your work in North Carolina's records a great deal easier. They will also help with the advanced preparation and research before you come and visit the archives in the State Library, which will make your visit a whole lot easier, believe me. They will, these pictured here are probably the top three most valuable ones. North Carolina research is absolutely indispensable in not only understanding the records in the archives, but also in giving research strategies for using those records. Since it is focused completely on our state's records and does not deal in generalities, it provides one of the most definitive guides to North Carolina genealogical research anywhere. The formation of North Carolina counties covers the period 1663 through 1943 and takes the researcher through all of the county boundary changes for all of the counties since the very beginning of the state. The North Carolina Gazetteer is a dictionary of places in the state, many of which are historical and no longer exist. For learning about watercourses and small communities and swamps and mountain hollers, there is no better resource than the North Carolina Gazetteer. These are an additional 4 books that have been published by our department and deal with specific record groups that I mentioned, such as the county records and the state agencies. And each of these is very widely available at genealogical and local history libraries. The archives can do a limited amount of research for you by mail. Out-of-state residents pay a search and handling fee of $20 for each request. North Carolina residents pay only for the requested copies of the records. And the types of research that can be requested from the State Archives is limited to those questions that can be answered by consulting a specific known set of records. And the reason for this is the volume of requests that we get by mail. There are forms for requesting searches by mail on our website, but a letter will also suffice. There's also advice on our website as to the types of questions that we can and cannot answer by mail. A general rule of thumb is that the question must be very specific about one person and one type of record and should include any citation that you might have. The forms give you guidance as to the record series that we can check for you, along with any special information that may be necessary for us to search for this category. If you have general questions about the archives and are not about your particular family research, please feel free to email us with your general questions. More and more of our materials are being made available remotely. You'll hear much more about this, as I said, later on this afternoon. But the three largest items that are available remotely are the Secretary of State wills, the Bible records, and the Civil War pensions. Materials that you can get via Ancestry or Family Search are our marriage records, death certificates, and probate records, which includes wills and estates. Family history centers are located all over the country. Via Utah, they have access to all of our microfilm records and many others, and their volunteers have microfilmed in our facilities. The easiest way to get land grants is via the private individual's website. He purchased our microfilm and has made available the images for certain counties. The same is true for UNC Chapel Hill, who has digitized and made our maps available. It's a good idea to always watch our website, since we always make announcements when some other record series is digitized, because this is a always evolving series. As with all archives, the State Archives does have many rules governing the use of the historically valuable records that we have. I won't give a lot of specifics about them, since they are readily available on our website, but I will mention a few of the most significant when planning a visit. Be sure to bring your driver's license or other form of government-issued ID. Do not bring a lot of research materials with you, since they won't be allowed in the search room. If you do need to bring them, however, there are lockers for their safekeeping, and you're free to come and go if you need to check them. You can also bring and use your laptop or tablet in the search room. Feel free to bring and use a digital camera as well. As long as you don't use a flash, you're free to take pictures of any of the materials that you're using. Please remember that you are handling priceless historical documents, so handle all documents carefully with clean hands. We're one of the only archives in the country that allows researchers to use original documents, and we want them to be here long after we become names on a pedigree chart. Our physical location is in downtown Raleigh, as Rebecca said earlier, on Jones Street. We're in between the Governor's Mansion and the Legislative Building. The search room is available to researchers Tuesday through Friday from 8 to 5:30 and on Saturdays from 9 to 2. If you're planning a visit, it is always good to keep an eye out on our website, since that's where any changes in hours or opening and closing are posted. Learning about your family history can be some of the most rewarding research that you'll ever do. Everything that you need in order to do such research is not online. Most of the documents that you need copies of are still only available at the archives or other government agencies, historical societies, and some genealogical libraries. You often do not realize the richness of the material that is available until you actually visit one of these facilities. Check out all the possibilities online and then plan a trip to one of the most fascinating treasure troves you'll ever find. Thank you.
And thank you, Debbie. And again, if you can fill out our evaluation form, that would be great. I think there might be some time for some questions. If anyone has any questions. Okay, well, we are then going to take a break and come back at 11 o'clock. Thank you very much.